Tickle versus Giggle sounds like one of the most innocent lawsuits on planet Earth, but this case destroyed 100 years of women's rights. Today we're going to dig into how this lawsuit effectively eliminated women's spaces in Australia, and how any similar lawsuit in America could lead to this exact same result. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Underreported Stories, where I cover the news that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News fail to report on or don't report on enough. And I promise you that you will not get this full set of facts and analysis anywhere in mainstream media, because honestly, mainstream outlets don't want to cover the reality of declining women's rights. So let's set the stage. The individual suing is named Roxanne Tickle, and Roxanne is a biological male who underwent some forms of gender reassignment and now identifies as a woman. Roxanne sued an Australian-based app called Giggle for Girls. The app has a female-only membership policy and was designed to be a place for girls to find roommates, jobs, friends, just like communicate with one another without men. And again, to clarify, the app was designed for people who are sex assigned female at birth and then continue to identify as female. It's an app for women and only women. Giggle was created by a woman named Sall Grover, and I wanted to set the stage there for you because we're going to talk about Sall Grover and Roxanne Tickle, but it's a little confusing because Sall is a woman and Roxanne is technically a biological male, so it's a little confusing. So here are the basic facts of the case, coming from a write-up from The Guardian. So Giggle was founded in 2020 by Sall Grover, and as part of onboarding for any female who wants to join the app, you had to upload a selfie that verified that the user was a female. Now, that wasn't done by Sall Grover herself. There was gender detection software on the app called Kairos AI, and that is what determined whether you got through and onto the app. So this wasn't Sall Grover manually accepting each person and then coming across on her phone, looking at Roxanne Tickle and saying, nope. No, it was an AI software that concluded that Roxanne appeared biologically male. The Guardian continues on by saying that Tickle was barred after initially being allowed to join the platform, which was shut down in August of 2022. The judge said the evidence did not establish Tickle was excluded from Giggle directly by reason of Roxanne Tickle's gender identity, although it remains possible that this was the real but unproven reason. The defense, so that's the Giggle app and Sall Grover, they don't dispute that their AI software blocked Roxanne Tickle from joining the app. They were 100% in on the idea that Roxanne should be barred from this app. The defense maintained that women have the right to single-sex spaces both offline and online, which is a new argument. Do you agree that women should have the right to online sex-segregated spaces as well? Let me know in the comments. Despite Roxanne Tickle being someone who believes Roxanne is a woman, in Australia, what was interesting about this case is that Roxanne is legally considered a female. According to a legal organization that analyzed this case, Tickle sued because Tickle's birth certificate claims that Tickle is a female, and therefore, if the birth certificate says I'm a woman, it's discriminatory to not allow a female into the app for females. So the crux of the problem here isn't even the results of the lawsuit, it's actually the existing legislation that allows people to legally change their sex. But the court did officially rule in favor of Roxanne Tickle and ruled that Giggle was guilty of indirect gender discrimination. So Sall Grover and Giggle are ordered to pay 10,000 Australian dollars, as well as cover Roxanne Tickle's court costs. The key point here, though, is that the judge did not rule that this was intentional discrimination because, like I mentioned earlier, Sall Grover did not get on the app and boot Roxanne off of it. It was AI that took one look at Roxanne and determined that this person could not possibly be a woman. But beyond the ruling, the court's response effectively changed the definition of the word sex, and that is what's so concerning. The judge issued a statement reading, "Sex is not confined to being a biological concept referring to whether a person at birth had male or female physical traits, nor confined to being a binary concept limited to the male or female sex." The implications of a ruling like that means that in Australia, women's sports, women's prisons, women's spaces, period, they no longer exist because the definition of woman or female is completely subjective. That's ludicrous. Sall Grover does seem like one hell of a fighter, though. In response to the lawsuit, she's filed an appeal and she put out a statement. During the 3 years of the Tickle v. Giggle legal battle, I was pregnant, something only women can do, found out the sex of my baby at 20 weeks, not assigned at birth, and now I have a daughter. My determination to ensure women and girls have rights has only strengthened. And her general line of response has simply been that the law is supposed to reflect reality, and that's not what happened in this case.
Yeah, I mean, law is supposed to reflect reality, and in reality, this person is a male. So, I mean, you can make a court believe something, I suppose, but you're not going to make me believe it. So to be punished for acknowledging biological sex, I think puts all Australians at risk of being punished for having human instincts.
But I know that people listening are mostly American, so I think a good question to ask is, could women's rights be destroyed in America as well? Well, it used to be a conspiracy theory to say that men would one day want to be in women's spaces, and look how that turned out. If you want to support my work and look incredible too, check out my brand new line of hats. These are so cute. This is the new conspiracy theorist hat. It shows off what a free thinker you are. And if you want to support my work, head over to basedinlogicapparel.com. It's linked below as well in the description. Be sure to tag me on Instagram when you get yours too. But back to the question at hand. I think there's a real possibility that one lawsuit could put American women's rights in jeopardy as well. I don't want to get too legalistic. I'm going to try and keep this as factual as possible. But there was a case back in 2019 that the conservative Supreme Court ruled in favor of called Bostock. Long story short, there was a gay man, last name Bostock. He was involved in a gay softball league, and his government job in Georgia found it unbecoming, and he had to undergo an investigation following his unbecoming actions. The Supreme Court was ultimately tasked with deciding whether the Civil Rights Act, specifically just the Civil Rights Act, prohibits employment discrimination on the basis of sex. The court ruled in favor of Bostock, but the problem with the Bostock decision is that the liberal justices took the ruling a step further and said that based on the Civil Rights Act, employers cannot discriminate against people with gender identity. And sure, while Bostock is technically about employing people, if it's not permissible to discriminate based on gender identity in employment, why would it be permissible to discriminate based on gender identity anywhere else? This isn't an argument in favor of discrimination, it's an argument in favor of logic. Nowhere in the Civil Rights Act of 1964 were people talking about gender identity. That was made up in 2019 lingo. And now it could be incredibly dangerous if the justices are interpreting a lawsuit similar to Tickle versus Giggle using that previous Bostock case. We are seeing true regression in women's rights worldwide, whether it's the most extreme end where women in Afghanistan can no longer speak or show their faces in public, or this worldwide extreme of women having no rights to privacy and freedom of association. And the craziest part is that we live in an era where destroying women's rights is considered the progressive and cool thing to fight for. That's madness. If you're a real story seeker and you made it to the end of the show, will you drop the fist emoji to show that we're gonna fight back against the regression in women's rights? As always, it's copy and pasted in the description. All right, friends, see you back here next time. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment about how beautiful, stunning, and funny I am. And if you want more content based in logic, be sure to click over here for more videos and clips of my show. If you have the means to financially support the show, consider purchasing from my merch line, Based Apparel, linked right below. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends.